Yeah, and it's crazy, you know. And to top it all off, I was just having a great hair day.
Oh, fuck you. Me and Jake running down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and banging chicks and drinking booze
No, not
and
me.
smoking
Not
weed.
me. I'm married.
Yeah, well,
I'm married.
Jake.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 140.
Holy.
140. Can you believe that?
Holy smokes.
I'm
Tyler.
So yeah, 10 weeks. We'll be at 150. We gotta do something.
I'm Tyler.
Yeah, you're Tyler. And I'm Jake.
Holy smokes. What a humdinger of an episode.
What are you, like,
coming up for you?
Broadcasting robot? We gotta reboot you?
I am not allowed to swear.
Listen here, buddy.
My prime directives are 1,
Party.
be awesome.
2,
Party.
3,
Party.
4.
Don't swear. 5 is classified.
Is there a 6th?
No.
Oh.
Wasn't the last RoboCop one classified until he realized it was you can't take action against OCP?
That was the 4th directive.
I'm saying the last one was classified, right? So it doesn't matter how many I have, as long as the last one is classified, right?
So welcome back to Off Panel, Off Topic. I feel like that Seinfeld bass really gets us through a show.
Yeah, it can
that
tune out the it can that and the Arnold. Yeah.
Does every time when you do that, do you see credits? Like when you look at me, because when I look at you, I see credits like on Seinfeld.
When I hear the Seinfeld bass, I always see like some frozen frame. You know,
you and me doing the pod,
just
and then
a Seinfeld episode. And
no, we're the
credits.
Seinfeld.
Oh my god!
Off panel, off Seinfeld.
Off panel, off Seinfeld. What's the deal?
You know, he never did that joke.
I know.
We say that every time too. I mean,
what's the deal with this off panel, off topic? It's almost like they don't want to be heard by anyone. I played
the bass drop again. We're moving on, Jerry.
We're moving on, Jerry. Come on.
Again, where do I even begin with you?
Well, we're gonna have a long episode.
Well,
I got a great long box, but
it's not gonna be that long, I think. But we're gonna be doing a little bit more of something that we kind of used to do with Tinfoil Radio, where we're gonna kind of like break down a certain moment. Like it's not gonna be like a Griff report.
It's gonna be like a Bob Seger breakdown, shakedown. Everybody's trying
Zack
to get.
Zack Snyder said some real interesting things.
Beverly Hills Cop 2
on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yes,
and
that I have not heard yet.
I wanted to talk about them because where I started to be angry and upset with like, why would you say that? This sounds like you don't understand. Then to eventually, by the end of the things that I've seen, the clips that I heard, I was like, oh, I just don't think this guy's that smart. And I don't mean he's dumb. I just think that like he's just, I don't know. He seems to always enjoy the wrong things about these properties, and we'll kind of get into that. We'll also talk about a Peacemaker season 2 update, and then we'll also talk about Willy's Chocolate Experience.
Yes.
What a story, let me tell you. So first, let's talk about Zack Snyder. Oh, sorry, I should have waited. I didn't know you were going for that.
I didn't know I was going to do a drum roll, really.
I have some clips
to
play. So he went on Joe Rogan's podcast. They talked for about 2 hours. I did not watch the whole podcast or listen to the whole podcast.
So full disclosure.
Well, and I watched longer videos of what he was saying. And these clips aren't super long, but I think I kind of get the essence of what he was saying in the context of it. Yeah. And I just he's such a weird dude to understand as an artist, in my opinion. And I'm not.
There's something about him that just precludes saying he's an auteur. You know what I mean? Like, there's just something about it. Like, I'm not gonna ever put him on the same level as like a Scorsese or anything like that. I'm just not.
Because I mean, like they talked about.
There's something too commercial about his.
So I didn't have a
stuff.
I didn't have a clip of it, but he does talk about the Snyder cut and all of the director's cut stuff. And he said that originally it was for him to get a following on home video, where people would rent the director's cut at the video store, and then like it kind of started there. And but his explanation with all the director's cuts is that it's his response to the studio saying like, okay, I'll let you have your cut, your commercial version of this movie, and then I'll have my cut. Which, okay, fine. But with the whole thing with Netflix, I still don't understand that decision. Because Netflix let you have whatever. If you wanted to make a 3-hour movie, they would let you do it. Scorsese has a 3.5. The Irishman is 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Like they would put that up.
Yeah.
They would probably let you do a Snyder cut 4-hour cut if you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just like some of those things I just don't understand. Like just make the fucking movie you want to make. Because I'm so sick of because he always says it's like it's a response to the studio and how people view it, and then it's just silly to me. Like you can't keep making the second chance version of like, well, you didn't like that because the studio did this, and then here's mine. You know, that exists. That absolutely exists.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the time, in my opinion, when it comes, especially how he handles DC, I think it was better when someone would say, "No, you can't do this, you can't do that," because
okay, let's break it down. I really enjoyed his fresh take on Superman. I really did. Man of Steel.
I liked Man of Steel.
I still like it.
I liked Batman v Superman.
So did I.
I have the ultimate cut.
I love the. I remember watching the Snyder cut and being like, "Awesome! This is what we should have had."
I liked the Snyder cut.
I did too. I have no problems with it. My issue more than anything was, and that's not really his fault, but I don't know. I feel like he could have had more of a just come out and been like, "Hey, stop this."
Yeah.
Stop this haranguing and everything.
Yeah.
But to be fair to Zack Snyder, Warner Brothers fucking sucks a big fat dick.
No,
okay?
yeah, they're terrible.
So fucking to be fair to Snyder, right?
And I don't think and they handled the tragedy that he had to deal with poorly in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Again, I don't hate Snyder.
No.
I don't. I just think that he doesn't understand the more
his way of looking at art is different than mine, and that's okay.
And the more he talked about Justice League, more he talked about Batman, which we'll highlight here, these first two clips. The more that he talks about these characters, I understand where he's coming from. Because he keeps coming from the angle of he wants to break these characters apart and break them down and subvert things. That's great. But he also has to accept what he was doing just wasn't connecting and wasn't working. And I just don't think that he ever dealt it's okay to look at those movies and say they suck. If people don't like them, I understand why they don't like them.
Yeah. I enjoyed them.
But I like them.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. It's just almost like he acts like, I don't know. It's so confusing with him because, I don't dislike him. I do think he has a creative vision, but he always works better when there's someone else working with him.
Yeah,
because I didn't like Sucker Punch. I
never
haven't watched Rebel Moon.
I never
probably
saw
won't.
Sucker Punch, but somebody told me it was really pretty, but it was nothing.
Army of the Dead was a disappointing movie for me because there's so many things I liked about that movie, and then it just failed. It sets up well, and then just falls apart. And I wanted to like that movie. So I want people to get that
what's
across.
A movie
let's dive into the clips.
All right.
Because we're spending a lot of time with the
because he did 300.
So the big clips,
right?
Yes.
So was
and
that
the
like
Dawn
the
of
last...
the Dead remake?
Oh, and Watchmen. I liked Watchmen.
I have the director's cut of Watchmen.
Right. I liked that.
I'm coming, and that's what I mean. I'm coming from an angle of someone who actually does
There's
like
a lot of
some of
who
his movies.
Didn't like that.
But anyway. Here's the first clip that I have, and this is the one that's probably gotten the most traction on Twitter. It was like circling around. He was kind of explaining why his Batman was killed, why he did that, and
wait, what?
Why Batman killed in his movies?
Oh, killed people.
Yes,
got it. Okay, I thought. Sorry, the way you worded it, I was like, what?
Anyway,
okay.
And he's kind of explaining what he wanted to do with like the deconstructing the characters and things like that.
And it's because I care that I want to take them apart. Like, I want Batman. Like, people are always like, well, Batman can't kill, right? So Batman can't kill is canon. And I'm like, okay, well, the first thing I want to do when you say that is I want to see what happens. And they go like, well, don't put him in a situation where he has to kill someone. I'm like, well, that's just like you're protecting your God in a weird way, right? You're making your God irrelevant if he can't be in that situation. He has to now deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, if he does do that, what does that mean? What does it tell you? But does he stand up to it? Can he survive that? Right? As a God, as your God, can Batman survive that?
Okay. So what's interesting about this clip and why I have two of this particular topic because
I have something very, very
because
specific
the follow-up
to say
that
about this.
the follow-up to that is how he says like
Listen,
so he doesn't so he this all grows from the thing where he aped a scene from The Dark Knight Returns where there's a mutant holding a hostage.
Right.
And Batman shoots him. Right? In Zack's movie, Batman v Superman, the guy dies because he's got the flamethrower. He shoots him in the head. He dies, whatever. He's like, I'll kill her. He goes, I believe you. And he shoots the dude in the head. It doesn't do that in the Frank Miller book. Zack Snyder said that, like, talked about it on that podcast like it was in the book. It wasn't, because it's mentioned later that mutant was alive. And then later in that book, Batman breaks guns and says, we will not use guns. We will not use tools of the enemy. Like, so again, that doesn't seem like he understands what makes the character.
Right, right.
Know?
And here's why you're a shitty Batman writer.
Oh.
Because good Batman writers put him in situations where he has to kill all the time.
He always gets out of it.
Right?
And that's what people kept pointing
because
out
he's
about this
fucking
clip.
Batman.
Yes.
So if you're putting Batman in a situation and you're thinking is that the only way out of it is that he has to kill somebody, you're a shitty writer. You're a shitty writer and you should have nothing to do with Batman. Having said that, I really did enjoy Batfleck. I did enjoy Batfleck quite a bit.
But
and I am not one of those idiots who's like, Batman can't. I don't give a shit if Batman kills or not. I really don't. I fucking do not give a shit.
But I'm just saying, like, whatever the justification would be,
right?
There's reasons in the canon.
But it's cool that he can't or he doesn't, right? It's cool that he doesn't use guns. But that's what makes him sets him apart.
The whole point.
Didn't Nolan have him use guns?
The whole point is he's trying to end a cycle of violence.
Yes.
By preserving life.
Didn't Nolan have him using guns?
No.
What did he use? He didn't have guns on the.
Yeah, like for grappling and shit, but he never used guns.
Okay, cool. No, I meant on his vehicles, not him personally.
Oh, I don't remember if he had anything like that. I think the tumbler just broke through buildings and shit.
That's what I thought. Like,
well, he had guns on his bike. I don't know. I think he had guns on the fucking tumbler. You know what? I need to rewatch him.
You know
I gotta figure it out.
Well, because I mean, Nolan. If I remember correctly, Nolan wasn't super. I mean, he was pretty close to the source material, but he strayed in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have surprised me at all if one of them was that he had guns like on the tumbler or on the.
Yes, but you could just say they were pellets, like rubber pellets.
And honestly, like, I know that
I mean, honestly, realistically, Batman is definitely killed. He's definitely killed people with how destructive his Batmobile has been. He's definitely killed people.
Yes.
No, but the thing that bothered me about that was just the fact that what he said was you're making your God irrelevant, which is bullshit because that has been his cornerstone of the character, and he's still the most popular. It's Batman and Spider-Man. Superman, you could argue, being there too, but you know, we've said it for so long. Like, when you think of DC, it's Batman. When you think of Marvel, it's Spider. So, like, those movies are going to make money. People love that character, and I understand where he is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And a narrative decision to kind of like, I want to try something different and break down these characters and do them. But like, it's just silly to me to say that he wouldn't find a way out of that situation without killing someone, because he would. Because
he's
Batman.
fucking Batman.
Because you know what? In real life, he probably would shoot that guy. But we're not talking about real life. We're talking about
a fucking comic book and a movie.
Talking about the DC fucking universe.
Yes.
Come on.
It's a fucking movie, and it's a fictional character.
Batman always does it.
And so we can...
And there's ways to subvert that character without killing someone.
And again, my whole point is that, Zach, you are a shitty writer. If you think that you have to make him kill people...
Yeah.
Or if you think that the only way out of certain situations, first of all, why are you putting him in those situations? And if you are gonna, or why are you putting him in those situations? B, if you are, you ought to have the fucking balls to have the fucking the talent to write him out of that without killing somebody. And if you don't have that talent, you have no business writing Batman stories. And guess what? I have no business writing Batman stories either.
I have a great recent example. I'm not a good writer. A great recent example.
But not.
Great recent example of Batman not killing and being successful. It's called The Fucking Batman.
Uh-huh.
Matt Reeves proved it not that long ago. Speaking of which, did you see that got delayed another year? It's going to be 26.
I need to watch that again.
October of 2026. I don't remember the exact.
The movie I watched yesterday changed my life.
All right, here's clip number 2.
Okay.
We're still talking about Batman. So remember what he said earlier
stop talking about
shooting the guy because, he had to. He kind of elaborates more, but then also defeats the whole purpose of what he was saying.
Lay down his gun. What's he going to do? It's the guy says to him, "I'll do it. I swear it."
I believe you is perfect.
Yeah, I believe you. And
I
then,
believe you.
Yeah. So I'm just that's where Frank Deakins takes Batman and just tears him in half.
Yeah.
And you've got to now come out the other side of that. And Batman is still the hero. Batman still does the right thing. He maintains his code, he doesn't change.
No, he doesn't.
But our perception of him changes.
Okay.
No, he does change because he's killed, you fucking idiot. If he's never killed before, he doesn't just fucking blow it off oh, no big deal.
The story that he's citing, he doesn't kill that guy.
Yes.
So
yes,
it proves against his point.
Dude,
because it's not the right thing.
Yes, it is a weak fucking writer who makes the anti-hero type.
You know what?
Of heroes.
And he doesn't understand. He thinks the act of violence makes them the hero in this situation. No. The choice to preserve life at any chance he can makes him more heroic.
And still be the hero and save the day.
Still serving justice.
Yeah. Hey, here's a perfect example. I've been told that using... I'm not putting myself on the level of Zack Snyder, but I've been told that using curse words in my music is a crutch, and one that I don't need, and some people might view that as it's a weak songwriting, whatever. I don't necessarily think that, but I could totally see why, and I know, Zach, that you don't want to believe that you're using it as a crutch, but weak fucking writers do use crutches. I don't use curse words as a crutch, so I can see why he wants to defend himself, but you also just maybe own up to the fact that you wanted to see a Batman that killed instead of saying, I wanted to deconstruct the character. Just say you wanted to see a Batman who killed.
And also,
I'm aware of the fact that I basically called myself a weak fucking writer.
So then things get weird.
Have at it, trolls, you fuckers.
While talking about the Snyder Cut, he talks about how the Barbie movie referenced him in a joke where Ken was dreaming about the 4-hour Snyder Cut. He's like, I thought that was funny. And then he goes on to talk about Rebel Moon and say, what's funny about that, too, is in a way, more people saw Rebel Moon than Barbie. And the level...
Wow.
Listen. The level of math that he is about to explain to you says a lot.
Is kind of about the same way he's explaining how Batman can kill.
You think about Netflix, for instance, where you push a button and Rebel Moon, right? The zeitgeist is crazy because Rebel Moon. So say right now there's it's almost 90 million views, right? 90 million people, 90 million starts. So or 90 million accounts said turned it on. Okay, give or take. They assume 2 viewers per screening, right? That's the kind of math. So you think if that movie was in the theater as a distribution model, so that's 160 million account or people supposedly watching based on that math. So 160 million people at $10 a ticket would be what is that math? I don't know. 160 million times 10. That's 1.6 billion. You know, so like you look at the view numbers, you can use that rough. You know, so more people probably saw Rebel Moon than saw Barbie in the theater, right?
More people. He did all of that math to try and explain to us that more people saw Rebel Moon than Barbie.
The last time Elvis came out with a record, he sold a certain number of copies. But I'm on Spotify, and if you look at it, Spotify has how many accounts? 180 million accounts. So if you look at it, I mean, I've been listened to by like 180 million like people, and they assume like 2 people per account, right? Per headphone, right?
Yeah.
So like that's what? That's like 172
well, is it Bluetooth
billion.
headphone or wired headphone?
So I fucking sold goddamn Elvis based on that fucking math, you jackass motherfucker.
Okay, so things get weird.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Then things get really weird. I didn't include this clip. He talked.
One more thing. Sorry, one more thing. You using the word zeitgeist to describe this movie of yours is wrong. That other one that you did, like 300, definitely zeitgeist.
Zited as geist.
Yeah, that fucking geisted the fuck out of the shit out of the geist. You know what I'm saying? And the whole Snyder cut. Yeah. Zeitin up your fucking geist all day, right?
Yeah.
But not this one. Barbie was zeitgeist. Not
that was
this
the
movie of yours.
Of geist.
That one zeited the shit out of that geist. But you, sir, I know zeitgeist. And you are no zeitgeist.
You're a zeitgeist infection.
You're kind of a...
No, I'm just kidding.
You are.
But things get weird.
Doesn't that make sense, right?
Yeah. So things get really...
I know what he's saying, but nobody is fucking talking about Rebel Moon like they talked about Barbie. Yeah. Nobody.
No.
Guess what? Rebel Moon didn't piss anybody off. Okay? Rebel Moon didn't change anybody's ways of thinking and go, wow, I've never even seen something from that perspective. Fucking Barbie did all those things. So, nice try there, buddy. Right. Nice try to, hey, you know what? I'm just as good as Elvis. No, I'm not. And I know that. I would never say something such a jackass. So
this one is kind of Zack just being reckless as a director.
Sure.
This other clip was circling around. He was talking about his son being in Watchmen. His son plays young Rorschach.
Oh, right.
In that flashback scene with his mom, where she was like, she beats him because she's a prostitute. She's with the John.
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
So in that scene, Zack wanted her to be topless, the actress playing his mom. And he kind of explains the incident, and again, it's really reckless and weird, and this whole interview is weird.
There was a scene that we did in that movie where because Rorschach's mom was a prostitute, right? So there's that scene where Rorschach's mom in the flashbacks like, I should have had that abortion, right? And she slaps him in the face, right? Because he hears, Mom, is he hurting you? Like, because she's having sex with some John in there. And then she opens the door and she's like, he's like, is he hurting you? I should have had that abortion, slapped him. And I had wanted the mother to be topless in that scene. And they were like, nah, like, you can't have. And it's cool because his mother was visiting set that day. And his mom was there, and she was like, oh, you're putting our son in a movie? Like, we weren't together at the time, his mom and I, but we're really close friends. But like, she was an actress, and I said, and they went, the only way that the woman could be topless is if it was actually his mom. And I was like, oh, I go, Denise. And she was like, no chance.
Just reckless, man, and like weird. Why would you insist to have her be topless in this movie, which she's not topless in the book.
Hey Zach, can I tell you? Can I school you a little bit? Lots of people have sex with like most of their clothes on. You don't necessarily have to be naked or topless to have sex.
I think it's weird to expose your 10-year-old to a grown woman's breasts. It's kind of weird. Just weird. That's all I'm saying. It's just weird. Shouldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean,
like they're not. It's not like they're not going to see nudity, but you're not. It's just weird that you were like vying to be like, I want this woman topless in front of my underage child.
If my kid is like, hey, I want to be in one of your movies, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to pick a part that is not very big and that is very, very, like, kind of not a big, huge part in the movie so that he doesn't, like, necessarily get exposed to a bunch of shit because he doesn't need to fucking be exposed to that shit yet.
Yeah, he doesn't need to. It's weird.
I can pick another role for him.
It's crazy enough that he's
right?
even in, you
hey,
know.
I'm going to pick the role where this adult woman slaps him, even though it's stage shit.
And says that I should have had an abortion.
What in the fuck is wrong with you, you fucking maniac?
That is in the book.
What?
That dialogue is in the book.
No, I know, but why would you have your kid be the one that it's said to, even though it's acting? I don't.
And then
I
with
just
her
don't.
tits out too. It's like
I
come
just
on.
don't. What the fuck you doing to your kid, man? I don't. What's wrong with you, dude? I don't understand it. Anyway.
So the final clip is where I start to laugh because Zack Snyder is a big Ayn Rand fan.
Of
course,
course.
He really wants to make the Fountainhead.
Fucking
I
go
don't have
for
a
it,
clip
you
for that.
jackass.
But the more he talks about the Spartan,
more I hear him,
they talked about 300.
Yeah.
So of course they talk about Spartan culture. And the more that he talks about Spartan culture, the more I'm like, I understand why you want to make the Fountainhead. And it's kind of a weird, again, really weird conversation.
And like in the hills, you knew there was just like this.
He's talking about the training of the young Spartans and
13-year-old gang of 13-year-olds that were going to just come down and murder you at any moment.
And they were encouraged to murder
And they were
you.
encouraged to do it because they like, and also the Helots were fine. If the Helots killed them, that was fine because that meant that they weren't good enough anyway. And then they would have this like, they did this ritual with this like table of cheese where like all these Spartan warriors would stand around the table and all the 13-year-olds who were ready to like transition into becoming true Spartans, you'd have to like try and get and pull a piece of cheese off this stone table. And the Spartan warriors who guarded the table could do anything to stop you.
Oh,
and it was just beating the crap out of these 13-year-olds. And finally, like, you know, if
Why
you
would
got
you-
it, then you were
Weird
given
tone.
to a Spartan soldier who raised you. And basically the idea was that he was your lover, he was your teacher, he was everything to you. Because the Spartans believed that, you know, really they believed that you would die for your brother if you were also lovers. You know, they thought that like if you were confused about why we're fighting, fight for that guy.
Well, because you put your dick in his ass?
Yeah.
That is no reason to save another man's life. None. Whatsoever. There are better reasons to save another man's life, and one of them is definitely not because you put your penis in his anus.
Or vice versa.
We're not talking about that. The fuck is wrong with you? What a fucking jackass.
Oh, by the way,
Dude,
13-year-olds,
dude,
too.
you
They're
know-
underage.
Dude, can you believe it, man? They used to be able to beat
Okay.
and fuck 13-year-olds. That's what he said. He's enamored of the fact they used to
Look,
get beat
now, hold on.
and fuck 13-year-olds.
I'm not saying he's agreeing with that at all. I'm not
It
saying
sounded
he's,
like he really thought it was
but
cool.
he sounds really enthusiastic
Right?
about it. But I also like to point out, he's like yes, in our society we have built this mythological thing about Spartans. And I'm not saying that Spartans were these great militaristic culture, but like great in terms of like they were a strong army. Yeah, they were because it was a fucking fascistic police state.
Yes. So go fuck yourself.
Did you hear how, like, the way that the Helots were slaves? So they'd conquer people, enslave them, and then just kill them at will because they're fucking bored. Because they're war-hungry early humans. Like, we didn't understand that, hey, we can't just go around just brutalizing and killing each other.
Yes.
Still haven't learned that as a society, but
yeah, I don't understand. Like, look, as a trope and as a kind of as a fantasy story, 300 is great.
Spartans are again. There's that mythological. Like, there's so many
Sure.
teams that are named the Spartans because that's a
Sure.
sign of power and strength
Right.
and the greatest warriors.
Right, but do we want to lionize their way of life? Fuck to the no. That baby's ugly. Throw it off the cliff. Are you fucking kidding
that
me?
baby can't survive. Throw it off a cliff.
What?
Oh, and then when it does, you're 7. Go in the woods and kill some animals and then learn how to hunt and
And
survive.
if you die,
If you
then
die,
fuck
you die. I don't give a
Fuck
shit.
you. I don't give a shit.
What kind of society is that?
That's not a society I want to live in, and I'm hoping we'll get some trouble.
But to like talk about that in a weird way, like it just.
Dude, he was touching himself when he was talking about that. I think.
You'd fight for your brother if he was also your lover. What? Which explains why.
Look, if you've
that
had your- if
explains
you've
why
had
300 is so homo.
If you've had your dick in another man's mouth, that's a reason to save his life. But in his ass, no. Come on.
all right,
That was strangely perfect context for that.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't even want to imagine what kind of discotheque in Germany that's happening in right now.
All right, so
We're gonna get so
we're
sued.
gonna get Larry David is be like, what is this shit?
Pretty
Pretty shit.
sloppy.
Oh
Do you got it? Wait. Get ready.
no,
Get it ready. Okay.
okay.
Pretty.
No.
Pretty.
Sloppy.
There you go. That was our Kirby enthusiasm.
We nailed it.
Nice job. Kick ass.
I'm gonna.
Good job, producer.
I need some water
All right.
because my mouth is dry
That's cool.
from spitting my takes at you.
Stick around.
All right, so next up, let's talk about some updates for Peacemaker, the show that we loved, season 2.
Season dose.
So James Gunn was he's been doing like some Q&As here and there on Threads. So he had some
Is that an
questions.
app or something?
Yeah, it's just like Instagram's version of Twitter, which is the most 2024 thing I could ever say. He was answering questions about Peacemaker. So that's supposed to start in the summer. So he is shooting Superman and Peacemaker simultaneously to tie them together.
Okay.
Like in a way to tie to bring that into the DCU. But he said that season 1 is not canon. Which is weird.
Yeah.
And I understand why it is, because that was still technically the DCEU. Now we know we got a new Superman. We're gonna get a new Batman, a new Flash, new Aquaman. So it would make sense to have him in a season 2, but then it's like they really have to find a way to justify, and I'm sure they will with the Waller show too. I think they're going to try and find ways to justify this, but it's going to be really hard because the whole entire cast is coming back, which on one hand is exciting because that cast was great.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, okay, so why is that first season not canon, and how? So are we just supposed to not? What do we do with those relationships? Because those relationships were built in that first season. And I know you're probably thinking like, oh, you're overthinking it, but am I? Because are we gonna say like all that character growth happened, but it wasn't? I don't know. Were they gonna say they're in some like multiverse now?
So here's what I like to think is that James Gunn is going to find a good and smart and funny way to bridge the gap and to keep all those relationships, to say that the first season happened, but that it isn't canon. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's kind of a shitty thing, but I kind of would like it if it was Peacemaker in James Gunn's office. And he's just like, what the fuck do you mean? And he's like, well, this is what I got to do because I didn't know I was going to be running this whole damn show when I did the first season, but I don't want to lose that, connection. Like, well, I guess you're right. I know that he could do it way funnier than I fucking could. And I know that that's kind of a cheap way. But to be
'cause
real,
that character doesn't break the fourth wall usually.
right? But to be really brutally honest, the show is very meta.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meta shit going on. Not least of which is the fucking opening goddamn sequence, right? I mean, that whole thing is so right. Okay, so I think the audience that watches it and the audience you're trying to reach would be receptive and understand and is smart enough to figure out go. Okay, so you're basically just saying. I don't know. I think there's a way that he can do it.
Yeah, and to me, it's.
And I think he can
I
do
wish
it
I
way
had the
cleverer,
Stephen A.
more clever
Smith
than I
drop
could.
where it's like, honestly, we don't care.
Yeah.
We do
It's still gonna
not
be good.
care because it's still going to be better than pretty much anything
Until
else.
he does wrong, James Gunn can do no wrong.
There are aspects that I like to the DCEU, but in my opinion, the two projects that James Gunn did were both very effective and funny and great.
What are the two you did? Oh, Suicide Squad and
Suicide
Peacemaker.
Squad
Yeah,
and
I
Peacemaker.
forgot. The Suicide Squad. Yeah, to me, I mean, look, whatever. It's clear from listening to those interviews, snippets, that Zack Snyder doesn't understand the comic books at all, actually. But it's clear from watching all sorts of shit that James Gunn does. And he understands being a comic book fan. And Zack Snyder kind of doesn't. Like at all. In fact, the way it sounds is Zack Snyder is going to be like, oh, so you like Spider-Man, huh? So he sticks to walls and shit? Well, guess what? My Spider-Man ain't going to fucking stick to walls. How do you like that, fucking fanboy?
Oh, but when he does, he breaks through the wall and kills someone.
Yeah, kill someone. Are you going to fucking like that? Doesn't it sound like he's just pissing all over your fan? And all these alt-writers that we talk about all the time who defend this Snyderverse crap, they're the same fucking way, man. They get all pissed off when you fuck with their heroes and fuck with their characters and blah, blah, blah.
So anyway, to answer some more questions, he said on Threads, Peacemaker Season 2 will take place after the events in Superman, which, by the way, is no longer Superman Legacy. It's just going to be called Superman.
That's fine.
He also said that the events of Superman will have an impact on the second season for Peacemaker. So Superman and Peacemaker Season 2 will be shot simultaneously. So Gunn will not direct every episode, but he will still be involved with it.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. We'll see what happens.
Did he direct everyone in the first episode?
He didn't direct every episode. He directed like all but like 2.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a lot less because he'll have Superman.
But that was fine. Whoever they got to do him, good job.
I'm excited. Like, I went back, so I was trying to put it together, and I just don't think I have the hard drive space to do it.
What?
But a while back, I did an omnibus on our YouTube channel for Venom. I was putting together an omnibus for Peacemaker because we reviewed every episode.
Huh.
It's 4 hours long. Like, that's how much we love that show.
Wow.
And that's how much we talked about that show. And so, clearly, you and I are both excited for Season 2. I'm just trying... What concerns me with, like, all that character growth that all those characters had together and Peacemaker himself having that growth, I would prefer that there's some way we had that connection to.
I think they will. I think, like I said, I think he's... I think he can figure it out.
Remember, because The Flash, they set up in the Flash movie that the timeline is shifted, so things can shift. So, like, you could keep the memories that he had, all of them had of Season 1, but now they're shifted into a parallel universe. Because why not?
Sure.
Why not? Who cares?
Whatever.
Who cares?
As long as it's enjoyable.
As long as it's good. That's all that matters.
I can figure out the extraneous bullshit that as long as you don't make me do math.
There's something that's interesting about Peacemaker.
Yeah.
And what James Gunn was able to do with that. First of all, the fact that character got to the level it did, that he ended up as a guest character in Mortal Kombat, just shows you how quickly and how fastly. And he's also in a fucking anime too. Like, that character's profile has jumped so much because of James Gunn.
Yeah.
To think like,
and John Cena,
and to think that and John Cena,
right, okay,
yeah. But I'm also saying, like, it's so crazy to me to see that that character's, like, how fast that character's gained in popularity. Where I don't know really anything at all about this character. So this next season, I have no fucking idea what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Just like I didn't have any clue what Season 1 was gonna be.
Well, the great thing about a character like Peacemaker is he's such a nothing
character that nobody
you
knows
can make
about.
him whatever you want. And in fact, like again, Vigilante is nothing like the comic books because I read the comic books when I was a kid. I don't care because he's such a D-lister. It doesn't even matter. Like, look, man,
Let's have some fun with these characters. You know.
Let me bring up a point.
Yeah.
Let me bring up a point.
Okay.
We just talked a lot about Zack Snyder making Batman kill and how weak a fucking writer that was and all that shit, right? And we're talking about having fun with characters.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. Big difference is Batman's Batman. Fucking Vigilante and Peacemaker are nothing. I mean, they always kind of have.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, what Zack Snyder was dealing with was Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman.
Yes.
This is fucking Peacemaker
yes.
and Polka Dot Man
yes.
and Bloodsport. Bloodsport.
Yeah, whatever.
You know, like nothing characters, and that was the whole point.
Yes.
Of that, and like I don't know.
That's why it's easy to play with those characters, and why it doesn't create such a fervor.
Regardless of how weird I feel about the whole season 1 not being canon thing, I
believe in him.
I still have a lot more trust with him, and I understand why Warner Brothers is going with him versus going with Snyder.
Yeah,
because to me, again, Snyder, I think James Gunn knows how to change and adapt characters in a better way because. I feel like when he has changed characters, for the most part, it's been good. I know that Adam Warlock isn't exactly what people would have hoped for that character. I'm not saying every change he's made is great, but for the most part, the changes that he's made are because, like you said, they're characters that you can kind of play with a little bit. Like Batman and Superman are pretty set in stone in the mythos and the lore, whereas these other characters, you're not going to know much about them.
And again,
like who the fuck knew about any of the Guardians of the Galaxy before that movie?
Right.
Yes, there's people that did,
right?
But he brought it mainstream, and he can do, and that's what his thing has been.
My thing is always like, you really good writers. I know that James Gunn can take a character like Superman, who is kind of set in stone, like we're talking about, and make changes to him in a way that makes sense for the character, but also furthers the characterization.
He gets the emotion of the character.
He doesn't have to do something stupid like, well, Batman doesn't kill. Well, how about if I have a Batman who kills? Let's see what that's like. Yeah?
Superman doesn't kill. He snaps Star's neck. And again,
sorry, dude. I'm sorry.
If you want to go back, as much as I enjoyed Man of Steel, he could have just choked him out.
Yes.
He didn't have to snap
his neck. And
then
put him back in the Phantom Zone.
Could have just choked him out.
Yes.
But you made him snap his neck.
What? God
See?
damn it.
See, now you started looking at it a different light.
Oh, no. I fucking hated it when it happened.
So we're excited for Peacemaker. I'm excited still. Again, it just shows you that I think DC is in really good hands with James Gunn. I know it's a little murky.
Unfortunately, they're owned by Warner Brothers.
I wish
Yikes.
I wish they would just completely hit reset. And I understand that you're trying to take the good things from the DCEU and bring things over, but like, shit, man.
So is Momoa still?
No, he's not gonna be Aquaman. So maybe he'll be Lobo. I don't know. It seems like he's still gonna work with like the way that it seemed was.
Well, why wouldn't he? I mean,
yeah. I don't know.
So wait a second. Is The Rock still going to be Black Adam? Fuck you.
You know how I'll be in the theater.
Yeah.
Touch and bless.
I love that movie.
I had more fun of it than I thought I would.
Honestly, for me, that movie is.
Ew, fuck you.
Mostly because of all the stupid shit behind it, but that's a different story for a different day. We're going to move on. I'm not going to play the Seinfeld bass because I think we're going to get sued.
Good. Right?
Yeah. Another deep dive I was swimming in was a river of chocolate because I want to talk about Willy's Chocolate Experience.
Okay.
A blatant Willy Wonka knockoff that had flyers that were made with AI art.
This is a movie?
No, so Willy's Chocolate Experience was an unlicensed event on the based on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that took place in Glasgow, Scotland in late February.
What is it called again?
Willy's Chocolate Experience.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Which sounds like a shit thing. Like it sounds like, you know what I mean? It just sounds weird. Chocolate Experience? What is a chocolate
Listen,
experience?
can I just say something about AI art? If you can't make art, there's a reason
Yeah.
for that. You shouldn't make AI art giving you the ability to make art. That shouldn't be a thing.
So
I'm sorry.
the event itself promoted itself.
Learn to fucking draw.
It promoted itself as an immersive, interactive family experience. So, and as people pointed out, the posters were AI generated. So they had like weird misspellings, like some weird words, and yeah. So the event was organized by House of Illuminati, a company registered to Billy Cool, Coull, which claims to offer unparalleled immersive experiences.
Yay. Sounds like a huckster who didn't like his day job.
The Rolling Stone also concluded that the organization's websites and events had descriptions that were written by AI chatbot like ChatGPT.
What?
So like all the things that were written on the website was AI generated.
Oh my God! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Just fuck
it's bad
you
enough
already.
This guy had to rip off.
I don't even want anything. But yeah, keep going. But seriously, nothing is gonna redeem you in my eyes at all.
No, it gets worse.
I'm sure it does.
So,
Fucking douche.
So they had
Can't even write.
They had 3 actors that they were going to have play Willy McDuff. So not Willy Wonka, Willy McDuff. So it was actor Paul Connell, and they were all given. He mentioned that all of the guys that were cast were only given 1 day to learn the script. Another actor that played Willy McDuff was an 18-year-old Michael Archibald. It was his first ever acting job. He was given the script at 6 p.m. on a Friday night before the event began Saturday morning. And yeah. So actor Kirsty Patterson, she played one of the Oompa Loompas that were actually called Wookie Doodles in the script. And there's like memes going around of her, and she's like just not. I really feel bad for her. I feel bad for all the actors in this because they're just trying to get work, and they're like, oh, there's this shitty knockoff kids thing. I just got to say a couple lines. This will be this big ride, and it's just this fucking like fire fest of a a rock. You know what I mean? Like it's just.
Yep.
So, what people got out of the experience? So, families that visited Willy's Chocolate Experience, they described what was an empty warehouse that was filled with lackluster decorations, and then some few, if any, promised treats. Instead, parents and kids were given a half cup of lemonade and 2 jelly beans each. So. They promised this big immersive ride. It's like a fucking bouncy house and like some shitty posters, and they're given 2 jelly beans and a half a cup of lemonade. In lieu of actual photo, so there was maybe 20 chairs and a couple of tables and a half-inflated bouncy castle. So this is Stuart Sinclair, a father at the event. So in lieu of actual photos, the website featured colorful illustrations and promised a chocolate fantasy, magical surprises, and optical marvels.
Look, it's 2 rats fucking. It's an optical marvel.
It's a chocolate fantasy.
No, that's when the rats go anal. That's when it's a chocolate fantasy.
So the script for the event was titled Wonky Doodles at McDuff's Chocolate Factory, a script. And so
listen, if you have to put a script, if you have to put the words "a script" in your title,
script.
in the title of your script, you fucking already failed.
So the script has Willy McDuff leading an audience through the Garden of Enchantment in the Twilight Tunnel. Once there, the group are confronted by a character called the Unknown, which is described as an evil chocolate maker who lives in the walls.
So we're traumatizing kids.
So we're playing a little
About
fast
chocolate.
and loose here.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
The Unknown is getting its own movie from this, a horror movie. Because why not?
Of fucking course.
So the Unknown seeks to steal the magical anti-graffiti gobstopper from McDuff's Imagination Lab.
I hope the guy who fucking put all this on is getting paid fucking gobs of money for the Unknown
like
horror
a
movie.
gobstopper.
He is, isn't he?
Probably. The gobstopper
piece
is a
of shit.
sweet so powerful it can make any room sparkle without lifting a finger. So McDuff defeats the unknown by amplifying the power of the gobstopper and causing his enemy to be gently swept up by a robotic vacuum, humorously ending the confrontation. So he gets swept up by a vacuum. Okay,
And why humorlessly? You can make that funny.
the script was unusual in that it included stage directions for the audience and descriptions of their reactions.
What?
Connell, one of the actors again, Connell, I think it was, what was his name again?
Oh, it don't matter.
No, this is important because it's Paul, it's Paul Connell,
Okay.
said that, hold on, I lost the script here. He said,
Jesus.
So Connell said it was 15 pages of AI-generated gibberish of me just monologuing these mad things, and compared the vacuum cleaner plot point to the video game Luigi's Mansion, which is true. Most of Luigi's Mansion is you got like this vacuum that sucks up all the ghosts.
What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a pretty wild thing, and it's like it's just a crazy thing of like how this stuff still happens, and even worse, it's like bad AI.
Of course.
That
Which, guess what? Get ready for more of that bullshit. I've got to come out and say it. I'm going to do this later on Twitter too. I have to come down against AI art and AI generated like art. How do I say this? Some people are meant to make art and some people aren't. I'm sorry, but that's true. And when you have people who aren't meant to make art being able to make art with the help of computers, that's just a match made in hell to me. I really, really, really hate it. And my brother is an artist, and I am a musician. And so far it's been mostly artists that have been harmed by this, but I have no doubt that at some point they're going to try and start foisting AI-generated music on us and shit.
Oh, they already do with like AI voices.
So, please stop. I understand that you may think it's fun or whatever, and if you're using it for your livelihood, okay. But I really wish you wouldn't. I'm not going to tell you you suck, but I don't like that you're using this.
You
So,
shouldn't do it.
No, you shouldn't. But I can't tell you what to do. I just wish you wouldn't.
You little bit. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Whoa, we're getting aggressive.
Fuck you
on.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to wrap things up on this,
yeah.
I think as Paul Connell also says, in some ways it was a world of imagination. Like, imagine that there's a whole chocolate factory here. I spoke to the people running it and thought, surely by the morning it won't look like this. And then I turned up in the morning and it absolutely did. Just the shitty bounce castle and posters. And again, it's like Firefest. It's like this shit. It's crazy this shit still happens, where these con artists get away with shit like this. The event was so bad that police were called at one point. They never really specified what happened at the time that I read this, and it had to be shut down on this Saturday afternoon that it opened. So it didn't even have a full weekend. It was closed on Saturday. It's a long box. Tyler.
It's a long box.
It's a long box.
It's time for the long box. Let's sing some more and piss off the trolls and you get no hair. What? What the hell was that? Somebody just had to sing.
It had to be said, damn it.
Yeah. Fuck off, trolls. Bigger than a mole. Because it's like, rock and roll speak.
So I've really been in the X-Men lately, and I wanted to talk.
I almost fucking shot Sprite out my nose. That would have not been pleasant.
That would have been
Making love to you is like Sprite shooting out of my nose.
So I've been in my ADHD hyper obsessive phase, and I've been I feel like the X-Men have been a weird blind spot in me and my nerddom. So I'm like, I need to beef up them numbers. They're rookie numbers,
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just kind of been finding as much X-Men comics and podcasts and shows that I can to kind of Because I'm excited for X-Men 97, and I kind of want to get caught up on that and kind of have a deeper understanding for the X-Men.
Can you do you still use Comixology or whatever it is?
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to talk about. Is I have Comixology, so I have the entire run of All New X-Men.
Nice.
Which is the Brian Michael Bendis run in like I want to say 2012, 2013.
Is that when he brought back the original X-Men?
Yeah, so the timeline, it's post Avengers versus X-Men.
Yep.
Scott has killed Professor X.
Hey, he's back, by the way.
He's teamed up with Magneto pretty much, and he's like this revolutionary.
Yeah.
Which I got to be honest, this Cyclops is like evil, but I kind of like this more the revolutionary Cyclops.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think it made him like because Scott's always been an interesting character.
Yeah.
I just kind of I don't know. I felt like it was a cool story, and I honestly kind of agreed with him a little bit because Avengers versus X-Men was a weird storyline anyway.
Well,
and All New X-Men takes place after that. So I had already like it wasn't like I was completely in the dark with this series because I had known about it because I had at that time I had read the Avengers versus X-Men stuff. So I had known about it.
I forgot about it.
Well, and
no, my brother had all of them, and I read a lot of the stories and whatnot. I
mean, I felt like they made Cyclops kind of just turn evil. Like, I don't know. I felt like I was kind of with Scott for a good portion of it. And then they're like,
well, he was infected with the Phoenix energy.
It's like when you see this thing where, like, in storytelling where it's like, well, we have to make a bad guy. It can't. It's like I like to think of it as like professional wrestling. They don't like to do when they do like big time matches. They want it. We can't just have something in the gray. We have to have someone to clearly root against. And I just feel like they kind of made him turn his evil turn. Kind of made sense, but then it also kind of seemed a little abrupt because they had gotten to a certain point in that event that they had to, they're the halfway point. They got to spike the sale so that something big has to happen in the middle of the event.
Well, the cool thing about the Avengers vs. X-Men event was that when it's basically the Phoenix Force.
Yes, that's what it turns
and it chose 5 X-Men or 5 mutants, and it was Namor, Cyclops, Colossus, I think his sister Magic.
And this is post House of M where a bunch of mutants have been killed.
Oh yeah, this is well past after mutants have come back they've been back for a while at this point. I can't remember who the Cyclops, Colossus, Namor.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
Anyway, this is all post that, and so Professor X is dead. Jean's school has been kind of destroyed. Mutants that aren't with Cyclops are on the run.
Yeah.
More mutant because of the Phoenix Force and the end of Avengers vs. X-Men, where that Phoenix Force kind of went out and gave all these other people powers. But we also find out, because I'm like 5 issues in, we also find out that Magneto, Scott, and Emma Frost, those are the main ones that are leading this. Their powers are getting weakened because of their exposure to the Phoenix Force. And this whole comic is what I think is interesting about the X-Men, because the more I've been learning about the X-Men, the weirder the shit is. And how much they're tied to space and time travel. And because I had known so I had seen the movie Days of Future Past, but that is so different than what the comic book is. And again, I'm just Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men is what I've been listening to, where they kind of do a really good job of breaking down that stuff. And I'm starting to learn to really fall in love with or I'm not learning, but I am starting to fall in love with X-Men because. And that is the beauty of comic books, where you could just find the right writer or the right series that you're interested in. And the reason I'm interested in this is because it's taking the original X-Men and putting them in the current continuity, and it's forcing Scott to deal with his choices. And being like, young Scott that we saw in the 60s would not agree with what this current Scott is doing. Killing Professor X and being leading a mutant civil war, because if you stand out against him and Magneto and Emma, you could die. They'll kill you.
Yeah.
They don't care if you're a mutant if you're against their cause.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting story.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah.
It's like 41 issues or something like that. And with Comixology, Comixology Unlimited, I'm able to. They have all 4 volumes available, so I'm gonna kind of just blister through those because I like Bendis. It's well paced.
Well, there was an Avengers versus X-Men comic, and I think it was 12 issues.
Yeah.
And then there's multiple tie-ins.
Yeah.
Multiple tie-ins.
Oh, the issue number 9 specifically, the Spider-Man one.
I don't
Avengers
know if
vs.
I read
X-Men
that one.
is really good.
Well, then they decided to milk the fuck out of it by having AVX, which I don't know if you know about this, but it was another series that came out afterwards, and it was just literally fights.
Oh.
Like, hey, here's 2 stories in this issue. One is these 2 guys fighting, and the other one is these 2 guys
I also think
fighting.
it
was interesting, like Deadpool and Captain America. So, like, interesting. But still,
I also want to think that it was Disney's way of diminishing the product.
How do you mean?
By almost eliminating a bunch of the X-Men, trying to make Inhumans more of a thing than the X-Men.
Well, that was
having
what
them
House
pretty
of M
much
was,
lose in the
That's
Avengers.
what the House of M was supposed to do.
Yes, and all that stuff happened.
Okay.
And then Disney got the rights to X-Men back, and then all of a sudden House of X and Powers of X and all this stuff is happening. All the really good things are happening again, and they killed off the Inhumans. But we digress. What's on yours?
I am not going to do this particular movie and this thing that I'm going to have on my long box justice. You have to go see it. But I will do my best.
Also, I mean, if you do want to see it, you should probably...
What are you doing?
Pizza time.
Oh, yeah. Well, kind of.
I don't
mean,
care if you spoil it for me, though.
Well, yeah.
It's fine.
So I watched the movie Poor Things. On Sunday night, I happened to catch. One thing on Sunday night for like best actor, best actress, what they did was they had like 5 nominees, right? So then they had 5 other actors giving like a speech to that actor who was nominated. Like Forrest Whitaker did Coleman Domingo. Sally Field did Emma Stone. Do you know what I mean? So like they each like, okay, Emma, your performance in da-da-da was so amazing, and she gave us, each. I really liked how they did that instead of the way that they've done it previously, which somebody reads 5 names or whatever. I liked that. That was cool. But I saw her thing, and I had kind of known about the movie, and I remember when it was out in theaters or whatever when it first came out, and how odd it looked, how odd Emma Stone looked. Because she has really black hair, and she's generally fair-haired in most projects and whatnot.
Big bushy eyebrows.
Yeah, just not, but I didn't know anything about the movie. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even watch a trailer. In fact, when I watched it on Hulu, I have the lowest tier, the ads, and they happened to have a trailer for the movie I was about to watch.
Nice. Wow.
But I had it on mute. I didn't want to have anything spoil whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. I didn't want to have.
You get so mad when I use my drops.
No, it's true. It's true. You're right. It was nice. But no, I'm glad. Well, I don't generally use drops during your shit, you fucker. Go ahead.
What?
Yeah. So I decided to watch Poor Things.
I'll fucking hit a sound right now.
Don't do it. And first thing you need to know is, spoiler. It's Willem Dafoe plays a scientist who. It starts off in this woman commits suicide by jumping off a bridge, and that's all you know about it. And then the next time you see her, she has the mind of a child. At one point, the guy who eventually marries her in the end of the movie. Says, "Wow, what a very beautiful retard," which is what they said in those times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's how he describes her. He just blurts it out, whatever. And then through trial and error, the doctor magnificent makeup on Willem Dafoe, and it's fucking Willem Dafoe, dude. It's awesome. Okay, it's just. You learn throughout the movie that his father was a Nazi doctor. Like, he branded his son's testicles. Like, all of the things that are wrong with Willem Dafoe's character are because of things his father did to him when he was younger.
Yeah.
As experiments. So thusly, he is, all about science and not about feelings or whatever, but he allows himself to have feelings for Bella as a daughter, right? And her name is Bella. And throughout the movie, you start to understand what is going on. At first, he says that she committed suicide and he reanimated her before she had completely died. And so she had basically memory loss, like complete memory loss, even to the point of like not knowing motor skills and speech. So that's what the explanation was. Then it's learned through a flashback that the woman who committed suicide was pregnant. So he took the dead brain out of the woman's head but the baby was alive and put the baby's brain in the woman. Yes.
Okay.
It's a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
It's fantastical. It's based on a book.
It's like It's like Lady Frankenstein, pretty much.
It's
like in a rough way.
Here's all I got.
And it's based on a book. And
right. Before I continue this, I need to let you know, when you watch this, I watched this with complete eyes open and no judgments. I literally said to myself, no matter what comes on this screen to me about this movie, I'm going to accept it before I judge it.
Yeah.
I will judge this movie afterwards. I need to give this movie what it needs to give me. That's how you want to view art. That's how I want to view art, right? Yeah. I want to
You don't want to go into something hating it.
Right. Like I did with Black Adam, for Christ's sakes.
Do,
which is not, by the way, Black
do,
Adam is not fucking art, okay?
And if you do feel that way, you shouldn't engage with it.
Right. I wanted to see it, and I knew
you can't enjoy something with an open mind.
I knew that it would be something that was going to be out of my wheelhouse, but something that I might enjoy. Anyway, so it moves along at a pace, and there's years in between all of these things, but eventually, she reaches adolescence.
Yeah.
The brain or whatever. And at this point, you're not even thinking that it's a baby's brain. Like, somebody earlier mentioned that. Yeah. It's not like that. You don't think like that. You know what I mean? It's not like you see like her like having trouble with motor skills and somebody's fucking her. It's not like that. I'm serious. I mean, but just anyway. But it's just a great movie. Like it's so fantastical. Like Willem Dafoe, when he eats, his character, you have to hook him up to this whole thing, and he burps out this giant bubble of shit, and then it pops, and he has no gastrointestinal juices, but it's so. He explains it. I don't even do it justice, like I said, but it's so matter of fact in the movie.
Yeah.
Like the first time you see it, she's all like, "Papa," whatever.
Yeah.
And then like later on, like throughout the movie, they show him having dinner at various times, and he'll do it every time, and nobody says anything, and it's just a normal. He sets his utensils down, unhooks himself, and they go about their business. Like it's just, it's shit like that, right? There's like trams like hundreds of feet above the air in Lisbon, Portugal at this time. There's no real like what time is it in history, right? It's ostensibly older, like in the past, but there's so many futuristic things too. The point is, she starts reaching adolescence and learns how to masturbate.
Okay.
Like we all do.
Yeah.
And the story becomes throughout. I don't want to go any farther than that. Okay. I've already given away too much about Willem Dafoe because that's just something you need to experience by watching it. It's fucking crazy. I don't want to go any further than that, other than to say that this movie is ultimately a story about a woman finding herself and her independence, and in a world much like our own, almost paralleled ours, that tries to do everything it can to beat that out of women. Yeah. This society that we live in right now, the one that we actually live in, does not cater to women very much. And to see a woman take control of herself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a fantastical story. I mean, she is her daughter. I mean, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to see a woman take charge and so matter-of-factly do it, and the way the movie ends, and it becomes this movie about so much more than just this person, just this story. It becomes, I can't do it justice. I just think that there's, do you remember when I went to that author after party thing, and it was like, I was like there was like 4 guys and like 100 women.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things said that, you know, probably I wouldn't hear in a group of guys, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really, really, really important for a lot of men to go out and seek these types of experiences, like watching a movie like Poor Things, like going to this after party.
We need more female
because you're getting
voices.
you're getting a perspective that you don't understand. There's very much the thought in the movie that many men try to control the sexuality of women, and it's true. I think we've all done it. I know in my mind, right? You know,
the whole
it's
Roe v. Wade thing. I mean,
well, I mean, or even like lately, there's a big thing online with body counts. You know what that is?
oh yeah.
Right. Okay. Look,
Who
man.
cares?
At one point in my life, that did bother me, right?
Yeah.
But
sure,
that was a long
but
time
maturity
ago.
is understanding that shit is
Exactly.
silly. And
Yes.
who cares?
Anything that happened before I
None
met
of that
person,
matters. None of that matters.
right?
You're with
Exactly.
them now. That doesn't matter.
There's a lot of those themes about that.
Yeah.
And it makes you think. It makes you even look at your own self and just go, wow, like just need to change just various things. Even if you are like pretty pro-feminist like I am, there's still a lot of things that you can still learn. And that's my message to everybody, is that just you need to get a different perspective. Just because it didn't happen to you or because you can't experience it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And we all need to understand that.
Yeah,
more.
and it's also a good.
I don't
good
doubt that you're offended by binary characters in comics, but I'm not worried about those people being offended or whatever. I'm worried about people who are actually vulnerable, like friends of mine who are transgender and are getting hurt by that stuff. So. And female friends of mine who are also being hurt by the policies in our state and in our country. So yeah, Roe v. Wade is a big one. But yeah, thank you for my TED Talk. It was a great movie, and I highly recommend it. 5 stars, no notes.
You know what offends me?
Oh, and
Oh shit! I hit the wrong bit.
no, and of course Willem Dafoe, dude, is fucking Willem Dafoe, man.
I want it to be known that I do love Willem Dafoe.
I do too.
Don't we all?
We've talked about before. I know this is kind of maybe a little gauche to talk about after the movie we were talking about, but we've talked about before how he's got like a huge wang, right? I know, it's like, you were just talking about women's empowerment, and now you're talking about a huge wang. Well, that's the way of the world.
I say that's pro. We're pro dong around here.
We're pro both sexes.
We're pro people.
Dongs and vaginas.
Together is one.
Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.